Yeah.
You wear you
Depends on what it is. I don't wear any kind of respirator or anything like that.
you don't wear one of those giant gas masks. I wore a mask for a couple of the like when we're sanding metal, so you just have metal particulate
Yeah,
floating in
you
the air.
definitely want to wear masks when you're sanding metal. You don't want that shit in your lungs.
Yeah, it's like this is how I get my what do you call it? My minerals. You know, I just sand a piece of metal and breathe in deeply.
Hmm. Yeah, don't do that.
No. Well, I'm not in that situation anymore, so I don't have to worry about it.
Oh, that's good.
Hopefully, I won't have to go back to that. Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone else is showing up or not. Fabian's supposed to be here. Omar's supposed to be here. Andrea's working. Uh, Daniel and Samir said they were not coming, so we should have Fabian and Omar and Rin at the minimum. But
Yeah, I saw baby and.
yeah. Oh, here we
Uh,
go. Here we go. Yay, Rin's back. Can you hear me? Rin? Hello?
Hi guys.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm glad
Good.
you're back. It's been like what, like a month?
I think not 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
I think I made the last two.
Yeah. I'm just teasing you.
Not that. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Solstice, baby.
Yeah.
We did a. We had a nice bonfire last night, and we were doing some elemental rituals around the fire.
Mhm.
And I gave a Reiki, a solstice Reiki session to my friend. It was a crazy night, but yeah, I don't know. There's something in the air, right? Trump is doing things like who knows what's going on. What do you guys
I
think?
don't watch. I don't watch the TV or the news or any of that, so I have no
No.
idea. It's great.
It's a good show though. Like it's actually a decent show. I think with I
Oh,
think
and I know it's an endlessly entertaining show. I just can't take bait anymore.
yeah, yeah.
It's like any other show. Like you could really get into Rick and Morty or The Simpsons or anything else.
Ooh, I love Rick and Morty. I hear they're coming
Yeah,
out
I
with
know.
another one, right? Are they coming out with
But
another
that
season?
the thing. I have no
You
idea.
don't
The
know.
thing about that show is it's like what's the main message of that show pushes?
Narcissism.
Parallel realities and narcissism, right?
Yeah.
So like that right there tells you like if it's the duality, it's like the parallel realities is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just make believe, but the narcissism is as real as can be.
Oh,
It's
definitely.
just like it's different layers of narcissism.
Have you seen that at all, Rin? Have you seen Rick and Morty?
I think I'm the only person I know who doesn't actually watch that show. My kids, everybody I know watches it. I think I need to maybe watch
it's
the
it's
series.
it's very good entertainment. Like I don't
Yeah,
have many shows where I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. But with Rick and Morty, and I know it's not like a good message. It's not. It's telling basically you all are gods and you should just go fuck around and like destroy shit and be cool. Like
yeah.
that's the
It's
that's the
okay to kill your family and
yeah.
yourself and everyone around you because hey, and this it's only one reality, right?
Right. There will always be another one to catch you. After you murder your whole
Right.
family.
Yeah, it's okay. It's only a cartoon.
Yeah.
You can always press reset because there's
Right.
multiple realities.
Right. And there may be some level of truth to that, but I think like it's a slippery slope to the mindset that just like, oh, I can do anything I want. There are no ramifications whatsoever in the long run.
Yeah.
Very unhealthy mindset.
A little bit, yeah. Considering the main character is supposed to be the main male role model, and he's a drunk that doesn't give a shit about any of it
Yeah.
else.
And then he's
And
also
he actually has open distaste for them and treats them all like crap.
Well, he's also like a
Not a
genius,
good.
right? He's a genius, so they're kind of saying like it's all right to be, to treat everyone like shit and not give a shit about anybody and be a genius. Like they're,
And
they're pairing they're pairing these like discordant themes together. But that's what makes good. That's what makes good TV shows is when you get people's riles up.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
What have you been up to, Ren? You living your best life?
I've just been in hibernation mode, to be honest. Sort of like
Mm-hmm.
staying off social media, staying away from my phone.
Yeah.
Pretty much people just kind of like going within, sort of retreating. And I've just been. I feel like a grizzly bear, so I've just been eating and sleeping.
Eat, sleep, poop, repeat.
Yep, yep. That's been my life for the past 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something that you felt called you to that like level of withdrawal, or is it intentional?
I'm just doing a lot of inner work, shadow work.
Mm-hmm.
I've just needed to rest,
Yeah.
so that's what my body's telling me to do. So I've honoured that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of, it's very important to listen when those things come. I remember when I used to follow Osho a lot back in when I was listening to all the gurus, and at one point in his life, like when he was older, he's just like, he decided or he felt that it was time for him to stop speaking, and he stopped speaking for like 3 years. He didn't say a word to anybody. He just was quiet, and that changed like everything in the community there, and everyone was trying to figure out what was going on, and but it also sparks introspection, and it can help people move. Like anything I think that can help give you a little push or a pull or a twist of mindset or something is good, because we're so good at it. Each and every one of us. I don't care how crazy you think you are with your conspiracy theories or with your outlandish ideas. Like you're very much in a rut, like everybody else. Like you get into you're just in a rut with lots of conspiracy theories. Like I think we can do well to encourage each other to branch out and try new things, always.
Yeah, definitely.
And also
I think for a lot of
meditate.
people this time of year, it's very challenging time of year as well for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been called to just be very still, go within. It's been very uncomfortable as well, sitting with your own shit, really.
Mm-hmm.
Away from all the distractions. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you gotten any revelations coming through or insights?
Just releasing a lot of stuff, releasing things that have happened over the past year, good and bad. So I can let something new in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Andrea said that this time of year for her is very like a contemplative, like you were saying, it's like it feels like a hibernating time. It's winter.
Definitely.
It's like the dead of winter. I mean, yesterday was the shortest day, longest night. That's what solstice is. So there's definitely it's good. I do it all the time. Like I just stop, stop talking, look around, see what's going on. Then you always come back to it. You get pulled back into the maelstrom of. You kind of like, it's hard to escape completely from what's going on.
If you turn on YouTube, that certainly doesn't want you to escape.
Yeah.
You have to deliberately avoid it. It's
Yeah.
funny how many things like I get coming up on my feed recommended for you, and it's like all these live feeds, like space. How does black holes does a black hole create new universes and shit like that? It's just, and every one of them is just like CGI of some kind of spaceship or some kind of planet or.
You can lose a whole afternoon on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can do all day on YouTube. I try to be a little more deliberate on YouTube, but it's correct.
I kind of like. I determined that it was mostly like a soap opera, for us. So I tended to go toward the things that you know, that are kind of like controversial, but in an intelligent way. Because there's a way to do controversial in a retarded way, and then there's a way to do it that's thought provoking and intelligent, and that there is a little bit of, you know, flame throwing and like roasting and things like that. But that's actually entertainment. Like when you come out of all of the, you know, the endless world views and explanations and all that stuff and come out the other side, well, you're still in a human body and you still enjoy humor, and the whole thing is really kind of a silly nonsense at a certain point. And then so it's like you got to find who's being, you know, who can be entertaining and actually share interesting information while carrying that worldview that like everything is true, nothing is true, the moment is all that there is, and every single thing that you say has a a proper what's the word, reversal or proper argument against. Like every side can be argued for, every side can be argued against, and then it becomes like a, your personality is just what your flavor for what you like out of that whole group of available things. That's what I look for. I look for people that are consciously, like consciously outputting with that knowledge, because that it's the knowledge of like everything. It's the knowledge of everything you've ever thought. It's the knowledge of all the experiences you've ever had, and even the things that we probably got mind wiped from previous incarnations and things like that. It's all of that all inside of your mind, and it all comes out like with every single word, and you can be intentional with all of that.
So have we got anyone else joining us today?
I don't know. Omar is supposed to be here, and Fabian is also supposed to be here, but they're not. It's just us.
How is Andrea?
She is good. Yeah, she's good. We did a group energy session yesterday, and she was participating in it. She was doing reflexology, and we had some things coming in, passing through, some energies that she had to sort of transmute, and the dog transmuted part of it, and I transmuted part of it, but like it takes a toll on you doing that kind of work. But also, like, that's the most fulfilling work that you can do at the same time is help other people. Like, something that may have sat inside of their body and sort of festered and, you know, become some sort of worry or angst without being necessarily addressed. If you do a session and have that come up and deal with it in a shared environment and have other people share that burden, then your whole perspective can change overnight.
I've just messaged Omar.
Yeah, help me corral these guys. They're supposed to be here. If it's just us, we might just sit in awkward silence for an hour, you know?
Yeah, he's having his caffeine fix, so I'm sure he'll be on.
Okay.
It should be a comfortable silence. You shouldn't have conversation.
We can just, you want to do a meditation? We'll just sit.
I actually, you should try. I know you put a video together that one day you recorded you walking around there. Yeah. And my girlfriend and I have actually been going out and grounding every day.
Yeah.
It's been super helpful. We went out yesterday and did pretty much like all.
Nice.
3 hours. Yeah, we tried to have a good time at it, but we left super early because we know like the vibrations at the mall just go nuts. Like the later, the more people come in, like it just gets really hard to stay balanced and get out of there.
In the mall you're talking about?
And yeah.
Okay.
And it was a waste of time really because like the 2 stores we went to at the mall ended up being like right next to the bookstore that we went to. That's like anyway. But anyhow, we walked around and didn't do a lot of people watching or anything. Just kind of had a chat, kept all the energies at bay. But at the end of the day, like that's what we do when we get home at night is go outside and like just put our bare feet in the dirt, ground, and you might consider giving that a try, especially if you're doing Reiki because you got a lot of stuff going through you.
I do. I have.
Helps, yeah.
Yeah.
It helps you like get back down to zero again, where you got an even baseline. And some days, like we've really noticed, like the harder the harder hit you are during the day, like especially going to the mall or walking around all those people and stuff, or a lot of electronics. And it might be, like fluorescent lights too. There's a lot of shit going on. That coming back and putting your feet in the dirt like really, really helps
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day to like get you back to normal.
Yeah.
Gary, I wanted to ask you, obviously you're a Reiki practitioner. I used to be a Reiki practitioner and reflexologist. I used to do like sports massage therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But I stopped sort of offering those modalities probably 5-6 years ago. I was finding that, a lot of the times either I wasn't setting up the protection correctly or clearing after a session, but I'd find that I'd take on the physical symptoms of my clients. So if
Mm-hmm.
they were coming in with whatever ailments, I'd be ill,
Yeah.
sort of like flu-like symptoms for at least 3 days minimum. And it got so much. It got to a point that I had to like stop offering
Okay.
the sessions, and it's been about probably 4 or 5 years since I've actually offered them, and I don't feel called to offer those services
Was
at
that
this time.
was that? Did you combine, you know, clearing energy clearing rituals before and after all of the sessions?
Yeah, I mean, I did
Yeah.
set my intention. I'd set the room up. I'd set up the space, and set my intention for the the session and for the client. And I thought I would had everything in place, but obviously something was not right towards the end. Yeah. I'd go out into.
Did you ground yourself? I guess you have to start with that every day if you're setting your intention at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I think you can take on, like for instance, we took on energies when we were doing the session yesterday, and Andrea had some shivers that had to, be ridden out because that's just how it appears in her. I've had the same thing. Like I've had Reiki sessions where I myself was the client, and some powerful things were coming through, and I was having the shakes afterward. Like my body was shaking, and my teacher Eden said, "Go out in the back, dig some holes, stick your feet in there, and
Yeah.
give it down to the earth." And I sat there and just was shaking around in the dirt for like 10 minutes, and then eventually it stopped, and I was just back to normal. But it's very clearly volatile practice, and very clearly you will take on your client's energy. Maybe even if you are doing the protection rituals, that's not even necessarily going to bar you from sort of accumulating some of that, because you're supposed to act as purely as a conduit.
Yeah.
And not let any of that get stuck inside of your own vessel, but it happens inevitably.
Yeah, I think the thing was I got caught into this whole thing about service to others, and that was my purpose, to help others, and so dealing with my own shit really. So I think that was the other reason, I think.
Yeah. And if you also had a fair amount of internal things to work on that hadn't been addressed yet, and you were trying to practice, that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
I
could
think,
be
that was the issue.
that could be directly related to why you were, because if you still have a lot of stuff going on in you, you're not a clear conduit. Like it's like you have garbage in the canal or something, and then their garbage comes in and it wants to go through the canal, but it jumps up on your garbage, and then you have like a whole big old island of things in there. So maybe it's something like that. But I mean, that service to others versus service to self, I don't really agree with that as even a premise for trying to manage your life. It seems too simple. I feel like in every interaction there's some selfishness and there's some giving. So to say like I am predominantly service to others, or Hitler was predominantly service to self, like I feel like that's a pretty simplistic way of explaining things.
Altruism isn't really very common.
Like pure altruism, but then I don't even know
Right.
if pure altruism even exists. Like that's probably just people bullshitting themselves.
Towards your offspring, maybe.
Maybe. You're
Yeah.
but you're invested in them. Like Not only are they
Right.
yours, like
Right.
they're your
So
property,
much of
but
that is like taking care of your own pride and ego.
yeah. And they're gonna, hopefully take care of you when you're 75, and you need your diaper changed. So like,
I know.
it's an investment.
Uh,
I think.
yeah, we'd like to think so.
Well, I think we are selfish, as in like we do have to look after ourselves first, because like we're with ourselves all the time. Like unless you're good at body hopping, like the elites that are trying to run away from God or whoever they're running away from. If you're not body hopping, then you're just, even if you are body hopping, you're still with the core self, whatever it is that runs around. And if you don't figure out how to live, how to take care of you, it's just that the word selfish got a bad connotation. It got like it's evil to be selfish, but being selfish just means you're about yourself, like you're about you. That's your main concern, is you. And then I've always understood it to be, if you can take care of you first, then you can actually give to other people. Before that, you can't. You can't.
Yep. That was a loud ding.
Yeah, sorry. It was somehow my computer got hooked up to my phone, so my computer acts like a cell phone every time I get a text. It's pretty silly.
Good if you're managing the chat. Right?
Yeah. I don't know where these guys are. Omar's always late. Why is Omar always late?
They should tell him that it starts at like 10:30 then.
Yeah, I used to do that with my brother, but then I was like, why am I having to put all this effort out? Because this person can't. I think he slept in. He's got a weird sleeping schedule. But I mean, people are people. They're going to show up when they're going to show up. I'm not going to manage the situation. I feel like we had, we've had at least 2 to 3 of the sessions. Sorry. We've had almost everybody here for a decent 2 or 3 of them. I think that's good for, 6 shows, 7 shows altogether. I don't know.
We had there was another lady that was.
Yeah, Monica.
Monica. Was it Monica?
Mm-hmm. Monica O'Brien.
Is she still with us?
No.
Oh, okay.
She decided that she wasn't ready for that level of like diving in. So she did send some monetary support and a nice card to me in the mail. I guess she had been trying to support the channel via electronic means for a long time, and for some reason it wasn't being allowed, so she finally sent something in the mail. But I don't know. I like Will. There was that guy Will. When you came in, there was another guy named Will that was supposed to be coming in. William West. Do you know him?
Hey, Omar.
Hi, Omar.
Hey, how's it going?
Omar.
He lives.
Dr. Bean. That's a great name, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Dr.
I
Beans.
like you're wearing the beanie.
I am. Or are you talking to Gary?
No, you.
Gary's always wearing a beanie.
I think he was born with a beanie.
Yeah. I don't know. It's cold here. I like the beanie.
Cold here.
Plus, it makes my hair look all crazy, which I like because my hair is always. See, like Omar, your hair looks crazy naturally. I don't think you like do anything. Do you do anything with that?
If I'm going to a restaurant, I'll put water in it and then it lays flat and then it looks really nice. But otherwise, no. I don't have anybody to impress.
Well, I remember you were saying in the last show, like when you walk into a room, everyone stops and stares, and I was like, maybe it's not because you're enlightened being. Maybe it's just because like your hair is just every which way.
Impressed with your coif.
the same thing will happen if I shave my head or if I have regular length hair. It's just I always get looked at weird. Didn't do anything. But if I shave my face completely, I look like I'm 20.
Yep, same here. But I mean, at a certain point you stop caring about, like when you stop trying to impress girls. I think that's the only reason why a man would care if he looked young, or unless he was in like a leadership position where he had to convince all the other boys that they need to listen to him.
Oh, I think it's funny. When I worked at Six Flags, I worked at a candy store, and we had to be clean shaven every day. And my coworkers were like fresh out of high school, like sophomores in college. They thought I was 22. I was like, no, but thanks.
Wait, how old were you at that time?
Like 29.
Yeah. When I was a senior in high school, I looked like I was like 11 or 12. Like, no joke. I grew my first whisker when I was 18. Like, first two little whiskers popped out of my chin. It was ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. But now, I'm 34 and like you, like I'll shave and I will still look like mid-20s. So I guess it turns into a blessing later on, after all of the pubescent angst periods.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't even know where my razor is. It's around somewhere.
And I don't know if any of you guys were paying any attention to my whining about it, but I had like a bald spot on my chin that...
It's grown back.
It grew back completely. You see, like, there's like no space anymore. It was completely bald. A good half-inch square.
Yeah, my brother gets those in his beard as well. He'll get a little circular patches. So I don't know if it's kind of like stress-related alopecia.
Oh, yeah?
I had that a few years ago. I don't know. It took months. I was just looking at it like, what is wrong with this one spot?
Right.
Yeah, it'll grow back.
Maybe it's like a crop circle or something. Like miniature aliens are...
Like mowing the
lawn. But it was when I was working that construction job with my friend, and we were using all kinds of chemicals and like silly, like just all kinds of nasty shit, that holds houses together. When you actually look at what holds a house together, you start like, oh wow, there's all kinds of glues and nails and just all kinds of nonsense to hold these stupid things together. And I think a piece of something got inside of my chin and just like poisoned a patch on my chin.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in construction, and it's not like food where you have a healthy choice. It's just, this is what we use.
What was like blood in bricks? Was that a thing? Like I heard something that someone pulled out a patent to put like animal blood inside of bricks. Was that a thing?
Well, that's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, like to help it not decompose as fast or hold the structure better. Someone actually pulled a patent out for that. Very strange.
Mm-hmm. Well, people do a lot of weird things. That's definitely weird.
Yeah.
You've built your own structures, haven't you, Omar? Is that Burning Man? Or you've built...
Yeah. I've built some things and then had some friends do some cool things and helped them assemble what they had already designed once it was out there and that kind of thing.
Construction is fascinating. Like it's definitely a science and an art. Even remodeling a bathroom. Yeah.
I mean, one of the coolest things that I remember since Rin just asked, my friend had built this 20 by 20 house about 15 feet high for him and his girlfriend out there that he brought in 2007. And it was like a lattice. It was made out of lattice, like the stuff you hang creepers on, vines.
Yeah.
And so we spent about 2 hours putting the 4 walls up and then an hour putting the ceiling together. And he had rearranged everything where he wanted it, and he brought like the queen size bed and like a dresser and a nightstand and a trunk. It was really cool. He basically recreated their bedroom, but in the middle of the desert, and then with lattice, so it wouldn't get a lot of wind shear.
Wow.
And then put what's it called? Some kind of camo, like snow camo on the inside with like a mesh net.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically not that dusty in there. It was really interesting.
It was a good replicate. It was a good replication of his bedroom.
Well, she liked it, so it must have been. But it was some that's not a he said she said. But it was like some kind of he had some cool system that I can't remember, but it was really ingenious in how he hooked the panels together. And so, yeah, out there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of really cool ways to do construction, like I said.
I kind of feel like maybe I should try it one year. I don't know.
It could be fun still. I mean, I know people that work there.
I heard too many bad things about it, like degrading itself, and then I was like, I enjoy my peace.
Well, it's if you're going there to try to find drugs, it's going to be a bad time because the police are all over it.
Really?
But if you're going there, dude, there's 5 different jurisdictions of law enforcement that pervade over that land.
Dude,
if you're going,
is the random just everyone taking drugs all the time sort of phenomena? Is that a thing of the past? Like, are people actually sober nowadays, or is that just pretend?
I can ask my friends that work there in the actual headquarters what they've been observing, if you want. But I haven't been since 2010, so I really don't know. But I know a few years ago there was a 70-mile line outside of the gate because the police had all decided that they were just going to literally search every single car going in.
That's ridiculous.
They had nothing else to do.
Hi, Andrea. Can you hear us?
Wow, that sounds like a blast.
Hi, Andrea.
Yeah, I was taking people
Hi,
today.
Andrea.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, hey, there you are.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can all hear you, I think.
Sideways.
Cool.
Yep. What are we talking about? Burning Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to see the art, I think you would still have a good time and to hear the music because there's a lot of good music there. There's a lot of dancing opportunities and the art is off the wall. It's so cool.
Yeah, maybe we'll try and make a. I don't know. I just need to explore. Like, I've been hemmed in like a hamster for so long. Like I haven't been able to explore, but I'm very much ready to just travel the world if and when possible.
So I might post a link on tribes.net. TryMyTribes.net. But I didn't open the link though.
Oh, about something I thought would be interesting to talk about?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
Young people?
about outer space. Yeah. I can do this thing where I can pull it up in a small little window so it doesn't interrupt this. It was really interesting, the thoughts that were coming to mind from it. Oh, yeah, there it is. Scientists claim, or U.S. retired general claims revolutionary transport technology and warns that China could dominate space. And then just in a nutshell, it was said that the rapidly growing Chinese military and tech advances are why the U.S. must invest heavily in new space-based technologies so they can remain the dominant person in space. But the trend has something to do with if in the next few years you don't do anything, the Chinese will win the race and put up roadblocks in space. Blah, 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 blah. And so then it goes on about needing a space force, and then it goes on about a bizarre claim that the U.S. currently possesses revolutionary technologies that can render current aerospace capabilities obsolete. And then it goes on like blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom it says, is this all setting the stage for a new space race that will benefit mankind by featuring scientific and technological development? It's very Hopian-based. Or is it ushering in the conditions for a great first space war? And here I am thinking, you motherfuckers can't even figure out you need to plant trees. Shut the fuck up and go back to school. Wait, don't go back to school. Just go and plant trees. Just shut up. And so I put the quote, I said, humans are currently the dumbest thing on the planet.
Don't they have enough money?
They're gonna get.
Don't they have enough money? We should invest NASA currency.
Wow.
That's what it was. My takeaway you reminded me was, why are they so worried about money? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what.
Space.
It's amazing, dude.
Yeah,
How
that's it.
they're gonna run to each other in space. They're gonna run to blocks. What did you say? Part of that you said they're worried that China's gonna like put up roadblocks in space.
it said that. Yeah, they're worried that the Chinese are going to become a superpower in outer space.
There's like not enough room out there for everyone to play in the playground in space.
No.
Not.
No.
I think all of these world leaders need to just take like a course in BDSM and consensual like power play, so they can learn how to just fucking get along and trust each other.
Oh
Because once your clothes get taken off, like, I'm sorry, I live in San Francisco, so I'll be a little bit controversial for just a second, but I'll keep it very polite. You got to meet a lot of really explorative, very open people up there, and they taught me a lot about how my head works when I feel vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and how I treat other people when I feel vulnerable, and it brought a lot of tremendous growth in the way that I treat people regardless of how I feel. So it gave me a very interesting footing, having the experience of seeing lots of naked people all over the place fucking and doing things that I can't repeat in the English language
Uh-huh.
on a quite regular basis, mind you. So yeah, it was a strange place to live. But I think if you brought all the world leaders together and just made them all sit around naked and just talk until they got along, that would probably be better than what we're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, or like people always say, give them a good, give them a good dosage of mushrooms, or give them a couple tabs of some acid or whatever, like.
Well, then you have to lock the doors.
Yeah, put them in a white room with no noise. It'll be great.
Because they need to suffer that horrible ego death of not being able to go outside and connect with trees and stuff. Wow, psychedelic.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Concrete wall.
everybody's had at least one trip like that where they're like, can't go outside, can't figure out how to get outside, and you're just fucking suffering.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Like, it tweaks your head. You're like staring at the wall. There's something in the corner dancing, and you're like, I don't know if that's there, but I'm not gonna go anywhere near it. Right by the fucking front door too, motherfucker. Oh! Like tapping your friend on the shoulder. See that, right? He's like, see
Oh,
that.
memories.
Yeah. Oh shit. We're in trouble.
Hi, Fabian. You made it.
Hey,
Yeah. Welcome. Hey,
yeah.
Omar, I want to give that site that you recommended a whirl for when this free meeting runs out. I wanted to see if we can manage trying a different site that isn't going to cut us off at 45 minutes.
The Tiny Chat?
Yeah.
Did you download the app for it?
No.
I'm not an expert in how it works, but I know there's an app for it.
There's an app for that.
There's an app for that?
I've used it. I've used it before to chat in a web browser, and everybody got their own screen.
Uh-huh.
And I just found the app the other day, and I grabbed it. So let me.
Where did you send me the link? Was it in your personal chat to me, or was it the group? Do you remember?
I think it was over SMS, but it looks like an eyeball. Can we share screenshots with this thing?
With Zoom?
The Zoom? Yeah.
I would think you should be able to.
Share content. Screen. Weird. Okay, start recording? This is weird.
Share
Okay,
basic.
screen.
There's an advanced share. Portion of screen. Yeah, try that. Try share a portion of screen.
See this thing down here with the mouse that looks like an eyeball. Stop recording. Screen recording, save to photos. Go to photos. Everything on your screen, do not. This is so weird. Why don't they make apps like this complicated? Okay, well, it went into the photos. So here, I'm just going to send that and done, and it should.
Yeah.
Apparently supersede that I'm sitting here.
Now your
Okay.
screen is showing the entire screen. Okay, I see your screen. I do see your screen.
Okay.
It has superseded all of our faces, and now all of our faces are tiny thumbnails on the right.
Oh, that's weird. I still see your face.
But
It's
we
like
have
toggling between.
we have 2 minutes left. Let's not get into all this technical stuff at the moment. If anyone wants to continue on the other side, we can open up one more Zoom chat. Otherwise, we'll try to get into the tiny chat next week. Does that sound reasonable?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
for sure. This looks complicated. It always is.
Okay, I'm gonna end this one and send out another link. So hang tight for just one moment.
All right. I have stuff to
Okay.
do, so I'll see you guys next week.
Okay. All right, Derek. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right,
Take
bye,
care.
Derek.
See ya.
Bye.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.
Later, start with video. Invite. Copy URL. Do do do. There's that one. And there's that one. There's that one. Okay. Do 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 do. Okay. I probably shouldn't be sharing all my deeply personal information on my email with all of you guys. You know. See? If I wear my beanie right after I shower, then it makes my hair crazy. So instead of being boring and straight, then it's... Did I invite everybody? I could just be talking to myself now. More talking to self. Oh, actually, usually the second link doesn't work anymore, does it? Oh, the second link does work. Wow. Wow. Grassy ass. Mow your ass. Alright. Oops. Exit full screen. Gallery view. There we go. Everyone's back. Wow, that was fast. Everyone's back except for Andrea.
Who's probably trying to finish smoking that Swisher, so.
Yeah. She had apparently a traumatizing experience at her job today, which she may or may not wish to share about. Not like bad, but she said something.
Is this a private call now?
It's
Is
not.
this a private one?
It's
No.
not.
Okay.
That's why I'm not sharing too pertinent of details yet. Do we want to do a private call? Does everybody want to switch over to cutting the...
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not invested in one or the other.
I always err on the side of everyone's dirty secrets should just be flapping in the breeze, like, because that's one way that... And I'm not saying necessarily personally wise, like us versus, the politicians are probably the ones that actually need that to be going on. But in general, as far as self-growth, like, the less hiding, the better. That's just me, like, I tend to listen if people express enough desire for some privacy, but for the most part...
Yeah, I agree. The thing that I've been dealing with lately, apparently, is when people say that they're okay with something, but they're really not, they don't know how to resolve their feelings about something. that's frustrating, because when somebody says they're not happy with something, I'm the first person to want to approach it and solve it and hear their side and see what's bothering them. And when they tell me they've come to resolution, but then the same thing comes up without any additional input later, I don't know how to handle that.
Yes, I feel like I understand you. I don't mind playing referee sometimes. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's not the best way I'd like to spend my time, but I don't mind it. I know also what you're talking about with acting like something's fine when it's not. That is a form of narcissism, actually. Like, it's just lying, really. So if you're an empath and you feel everyone's feelings and the person's like, I'm fine, and then you feel, their internals are doing seesaws and flip-flops and acrobats and things like that, then obviously they're not fine, and then there's something that has to be discussed. But
Yeah,
discussion will always fix it, and if it doesn't fix it, then you have to part ways. That's like the only two options.
Yeah, I found in general, when somebody isn't being honest with me and I tell them what they're thinking, it doesn't ever end well. So, I mean that from a deeply empathic perspective. Like, you can't lie to me, but I'll accept whatever you say at face value, because I've got all sorts of shit that I'm trying to do. And whatever you are interested in is not actually what I was trying to do. So I'm just going to get back to what I wanted to do. And if you say you're fine, I assume you're fine.
Right. Exactly.
But it's too much work.
Exactly.
Unless you're sleeping in my bed, that's a different story. Then we can keep hashing it out until we get to the point. But that's like the one exception thing.
I mean, you can even draw a line in the bed, like an imaginary
line. You can,
line.
but generally that gets its own category.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it's entertaining to me, and sometimes it's like, not interested. Especially if, like you're saying, Omar, it's a problem that's been perpetuating itself for a while.
Several times. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, you're like, oh, yeah, everything's cool. Then out of the blue, you hear from a third party that they're not okay. And I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything else. He seemed fine. She seemed fine. I don't get it. Whatever. Coffee!
Time heals all wounds, and what's the other one?
If it doesn't, you just get salty and you make jerky out of it.
Time wounds all heals, also, I think was the saying.
That must have been a stoner you were talking
to. It was I forget, it was some personality, some TV personality.
Oh, so do you think that stoners would buy those posters, those illustrations as posters? The last couple things I posted?
If they could remember that you posted it before they get whirled off into the next scroll in the next 2 seconds, then perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, advertising in this day and age, I'm not even sure how that works anymore, but if I can get them to shamanic shamanicvisions.me or cannabisdreams.me, then I think that would probably work out. And they have to be able to buy everything with one thumb within 2.5 minutes.
So you're trying to appeal to potheads specifically?
I'm trying to appeal to the under 30 crowd that smokes so much weed they're kind of indiscriminate with their money, because that could be residual income without. If I can get them on the site, I'm pretty sure I can get them to buy something.
Probably. I would see, like, I think what you're doing is a grand adventure, because trying to figure out how advertising actually works nowadays is a huge, like, conundrum. I have no idea how it works.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm just rolling along with the breeze, hoping that I run into something and I get stuck to it like a fly in the fly trap. Like, oh, cool, look!
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Along came the spider.
I mean, because
Except I'm hoping to be the spider.
it seems like the traditional method, yeah, has been just like inundation of repetition. Like that seems to be like the way that big brands seem to fall back on is just I want my name to
Yeah,
be as visible in as many different places and as many different circumstances as possible, so it becomes a internal repeated meme, and that person will always be thinking of me, always.
yeah, but as the fractal keeps infinitely dividing itself, you can't just keep throwing more money at repetition because each impression is worth less in the mind. So the problem is that we have so many divergent topics in the socio-demographic fabric because of the internet that people's minds are literally falling into like billions and trillions of pieces. There's no coherency in most people whatsoever, to the point where they can't even think about what they're going to do in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I found apps. One of the ways that I track trends is I look at what's trending in the App Store to see what people are buying for and the top charts and what the top free apps are. And there is a whole category of apps now for parents that are divorced that have kids that can't get along with each other and can't figure out how to do simple things like actually get the kid to school or get the kid to their doctor's appointment. And it's got like one of them had a legal ledger in there with like voice memos and reminders and calendar integration. I'm just like, God damn, this is not complicated. You talk to the person, you make the thing happen, and it's done. You do the next day.
Right.
Ah!
Right. They created a whole site for that.
It's a whole app. It's called Talking Parents.
Oh my god.
And there's like multiple apps. It's not just one app.
Yeah, maybe people are just suffering from overstimulation. Like that's the end result of the AD. That's the end result of the ADD baby like just issue that we started when the kids were hooked to the iPhone the second they came out of the womb.
Yeah, well, what I was getting with that was that if people are needing apps for that, then they definitely don't know what they're even doing tomorrow.
Right. How do they hold it together enough to make money in order to buy their weed and be able to frazzle their minds on the internet? Like I don't understand where's the continuity?
Because going to work is kind of like driving a car. You just know that you walk out the front door and you go to your car and you go to the same big box, and then if you make a wrong turn, then you made a wrong turn. But
Oh my god. It really is like that, what was that movie where they all got fat at the end and they rolled around? Wall-E. It's like Wall-E. Like people are becoming incredibly retarded. Like not the mean like biting.
no,
Just
no, they are definitely becoming retarded in the
Yeah.
classical definition of the word.
Yeah. And like how's the infrastructure even gonna hold itself together? Engineering a bridge is a complicated fucking thing. Like you can't just have a drooling, biped sitting there
Well,
trying to read a blueprint.
and that's where I think I can draw a little flashlight onto something that you just made me realize. When all the people our age and 20, 15 years, 30 years older, and the people that are 10 years younger than us, when they all die, all of these fucking retarded people are going to be around trying to figure out how to control things and how to build things. And the only thing that's going to be left is those retarded people and software and artificial intelligence, which is just going to tell them what to do, and that's the end of it.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we're going to have to deal with this shit by the time that we expire, but it's going to be messy for everybody else afterwards. Because I think we're at least 60 years away from a computer telling you can't drive down the street, like, fake traffic cop telling you raising a gate and lowering a gate and all that. Could be wrong.
Yeah. I have not felt the nefarious, like, I had what I consider to be some ancient AI attack during my weed thing, but that was something different than what I see is prevalent and presenting itself to this world that we appear to live in. I haven't seen like the nefarious aspect of the AI. I see, at least in this particular realm, it feels to me like it actually is just simply being helpful. Like it's just being a tool. Like maybe it's being weaponized in some form. And I know you could argue, Samir would argue that, of course, that TIs are an example of weaponized AI combined with quantum computing and hypergame theory and all this stuff. But I have not seen it personally. The sort of blatantly nefarious AI agenda stuff in day-to-day life.
What I have in my experience is reading lots and lots of technical documents on how the stuff that currently exists works. Lots of experience doing weird things like remote viewing, being able to tell people what kind of couch they have, what color it is, they live across the country, being able to replay events people had in time space that I was not a part of and I was nowhere near, and things like that. But then at the same time, I've spent a tremendous amount of time fucking around with computers and stuff. And my conclusion is ultimately that everything computerized is just as real as an apple sitting on the desk in front of you because it's had form breathed into it in a sense. But it's not more real than you sitting there, but it exists in like a parallel. So the people that I hear complaining about being TIs or having all of these types of things based on the breadth of my personal experiences, both positive and negative, I think that those are issues where people just need more knowledge of self to decompress the ego, heal it so they can understand their footing in the world and really who they are and what makes them tick. And they probably need some vitamins as well.
Yeah.
Because all of the things that most of these people complain about are completely either just growing pains or they're very easily fixed once you see how to fix it.
Right. Yeah, I'm of a similar mind. Anyone who still has the capacity to like fixate on any one element of a realm that literally is overloaded with billions of different mind forms and thought forms, like, to me is still sort of acting a bit childish in the overall scheme of things, because it's almost random. It's almost like that has to be a sort of egotistical point of view, because egotistical is that it's the conflation. I don't know if conflation is the correct word, but it's like the picking out from a billion different thought forms and then picking 5 of them and calling that your personality, and then getting upset surrounding those 5 things one way or the other, like whichever way it's going. It's just, to me, it feels like a personality problem.
Yeah, and that I like to call it the marginalized ego, because I think that feels right. But I was writing about that in a couple blog articles I put up on Revitalize You a few months ago, and I haven't been drawn to try to write anything else for that recently because those were quite whopperish pieces. But the one is about how memories are formed and how we learn things in school, and the mechanisms by which we're forced to store things in our physical tissues and muscles, and then transmit them, transduce them into long-term memory. That's very traumatic, especially when it has to deal with things that you didn't ask to learn about and aren't really all that interesting anyway. And you can tell they're not important, but then you get evaluation of your performance or worth as a being through grades. So it's a whole big old mess. But that's one reason I think why people are so fucking stupid, because the school system makes it so that they don't want to actually learn, because they have wounds that are unhealed that they're adults with and that are brought into adulthood. I don't think that school is an easy time for most people unless you just kind of check out and you're going to house parties and all that.
Well, it can't be
crying into his homework for 6 hours a night.
it can't be a good time if you are aware of anything because it's much bullshit. And if you're not aware of anything, then all you're doing is trying to appease your parents and get decent grades and, fuck everybody that you feel like you want to try and fuck and have good parties and shit like that. That's all you're trying to do.
Yeah, I didn't get any of the stuff, any of the fun stuff.
I didn't either.
That wasn't my experience.
That's why I dropped out. Like, I wasn't getting any of the parties. I wasn't getting any of the anything, like any of the drugs or the booze or the women or the, I didn't even give a shit that I was getting good grades. So like I got nothing out of it except for a nice, college loan debt. So, not to mention I was in the wrong.
I still have one of those following me around too.
I was in the wrong. I was doing liberal studies. I should have at least picked like some sort of engineering so my brain could be challenged. But for some reason, I was duped into thinking I could be a teacher in this system. But that was before I even knew anything in this particular body that, the system is just the silliest thing ever.
Yeah, you want a good laugh? Mine was very similar. I started out trying to be a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in an integrative studies program where I was going to combine photography and the psychological implications of photography in psychology and do like a double major. But I got to the bookstore and pulled the course list for all the psych books. And I'm like carrying this pile of books and it's like so big. And I stopped for a second. I said, wait a minute. And I opened one of them and it's like 1,500 page book. I'm like, okay, there's like 8 of these. What the fuck is this fucking garbage? Snap. I'm changing my major. And then I at that school, I heard from these kids in the hallway the first week of school, well, that guy's not here yet. I'm like, yeah, I keep hearing about this guy. Is he interesting? And they're like, oh, well, him and so-and-so and so-and-so are at Burning Man right now. And they'll be back after the first 2 weeks of school. And I'm like, what's Burning Man? And they were like, and that was the first time I heard about it. And I was like, I want to go. Is it too late to go? And they're like, yeah, wait for the next year. And then I forgot about it for 5 years, and then it came up in San Francisco, and I met these friends, and one group of friends led to another group of friends. It led to partying on the beach once a month for 2 days, and all sorts of interesting people. And I asked them, do you think I'll be okay at Burning Man? And they were like, you already have the mindset, you'll be fine. I was like, what does that mean? They're like, you'll see.
Is that how it was?
I got there after 18 hours of packing an RV at my friend's house. He had the turn signals go out on his camper, and I duct taped and zip tied a Malibu light to the corner of his camper as an indicator light. And then we zip tied another solar powered lawn light to the other corner. So he didn't actually have back blinkers, but they were indicators. And we made it all the way to Nevada without getting pulled over.
They actually did you make them blink?
No, but they were on. So it looked like a really old janky ass, kind of shadow, like a 1940s kind of thing, just cruising along.
That's funny.
So we get there and the sun's coming up, and I was like, the first time you go, if you're new, you get to ring this huge gong bell at the entry.
Mm.
And I rang the gong, and some lady without a shirt on gave me a sticker and a hug. And I was like, this is interesting. Okay, so we get there, and there's nothing, because we did early arrival. And it's a blank slate of, you can't even see the end of this place. It's huge. And I said, what did I do? There's nothing here. This is weird. And I said, I'm going to go to the car and I'm going to get a beer. And I go back and I set up the tent and I crack the beer. And then I see a friend of mine show up in a car. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if people that I know are showing up, then this is actually going to be okay. And we helped people set up stuff for like 2 days, 3 days. You just walk around with a screw gun and, tools and just, hey, who are you? Can I help set up your shit? This looks pretty cool. What is this? And then you just get in there and they tell you what to do, and you hold this, hold that, screw gun this, pick up that, carry it over here, set it down.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. The teamwork that happens there, if that could happen in the regular world, like, would be fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah. That can't happen in the regular world. You need the regular world to be able to continue in its sort of ordered insanity, and the little things that you're talking about have to be very isolated, like scientific experiment type, elements, I think.
Well, it's funny you say scientific experiment because there's a lot of government experiments that are actually going on there.
Oh, I'm sure.
My friend used to run a something called the BlackRock sonar project, where they have a military grade sonar system, sonoluminescent imaging system, that they have set up in a tower above the. And this is only because I know people that work there. They have been tasked with doing all these weird things by the organization. So she would go up there and she'd smoke a lot of weed and she'd sit in front of this thing and just like sort of watch it, not actually do much with it because she wasn't the narc. But what it did was it took imagery of anything on the entire surface of the event, 6 inches above the ground or higher, and you could literally make out if somebody was holding a lighter and sparking a joint or whatever with sound waves. It was fucking intense, she said.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then
so they're actually busting
DOD,
people for weed? Like,
No. But they can see, if you're smoking a joint, lighting a cigarette, hitting a crack pipe, like you can tell by the sonar waves that are coming off of it because they generate heat and they have refractive differential densities in between the space where the imaging sensor can calculate out to and pick readings from and stuff.
Did they didn't actually like bust people? They weren't harassing the scene, or were they actually getting involved if somebody was trying to use illicit drugs?
No. They were doing a separate study for the government that had nothing to do with law enforcement.
Oh, okay. I got you.
They were just collecting numbers about like people there and what people were doing here and there and
I see.
what kind of activity was happening in big dance camps versus smaller villages. And
Yeah, I think you might have a point there. The government is not interested in enforcing any type of morality, or you should be smoking this, or you shouldn't. They're more interested in collecting information on like who's smoking this type of crack and who's what's the reaction when this guy combines his crack pipe with a thing of acid, and they're just they're experimenting. I think the whole like enforcement of the good or badness of any of them is kind of like the joke presentation that the public has so they can know that like the law is protecting them.
Yeah, because it drives the black market and it drives sales of more drugs. But what was really interesting is a number of years ago when they started releasing those synthetic cannabinoids onto the market under like Spice and K2 and all those weird brands. This is about 2010, 2009, 2010. A friend of mine was like the guy that would always show up to your house and he'd be like, I have Coke. And I'd be like, I don't want any, but thank you for bringing that. That was a nice thought. And so he'd be like, let's go get some of that fake pot. And I'm like, he said, I have a drug test for this FBI interview I'm doing soon. Let's go get some of that fake pot. I'd like to smoke a joint. And I'm like, dude, you were so fucking weird. So we go there and we get the fake pot. And we bring it back to his house, and we wait out, enough that would be like, teeny little nug, a teeny piece, enough to like share a bowl, and like one hit each kind of thing, one good hit. I took a hit, he took a hit, and I've done a lot of drugs, and I was like, oh my god, it was literally like I had taken MDMA, ecstasy. I had somehow gotten myself just drunk enough where I felt really good, but wasn't disoriented, and everything was still like in control. And by control, I mean like visually, optically, like balance wasn't off, wasn't sluggish. It also felt like I had smoked a whole shitload of grass, like taken mushrooms and dropped acid. And I was like, what the fuck is in this stuff? Wow. And then the next time we took it, And that lasted for about an hour and a half. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. The next time we took it, I threw up for 45 minutes straight. I'm not that guy. Throws up within a minute, 2 minutes, it's done. Everything's good. And I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes of like simultaneous dry heaving and retching and just fucking keeled over, like falling sideways, like, like my eyes feel like they're going to pop out of my head. Just like, oh God. So I called the company up and I said, I'm a distributor. I'd like to store this in my store. I'd like to sell this. I've heard really good things about your product. Can you send me a list of the ingredients, please? And they sent me a list of these weird, like, talking. We're like, what the fuck? We were both so sick. We're like, we want to know what this is. They sent a list of everything that it wasn't and not a single thing that it was.
What? Why?
And I called them on the phone. I said, I just got this email from you and it doesn't tell me the ingredients. How can I put this in my store in faith, not knowing what this is? And they said, well, this is our list. It's a positive exclusion list, so you can tell people that it doesn't have this, or that in it. I said, yeah, great, but what if I wanted to know what it actually was? He said, we don't disclose that information to anybody. So I that was a long tangent, but I think that the government was testing synthetic cannabinoids on the general public, and they were releasing them to head shops as these weird, like, K2 and spice and stuff.
Wow.
And then just collecting data from the hospitals to see if anybody came in from it and died.
Right? Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable.
So when was the last time you visited Burning Man?
2010.
2010.
Fabian, have you been to Burning Man?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah?
No, I haven't been there. No.
Wait, you did or you didn't?
No, I've never been there.
Okay. Okay.
Fabian, with your lighting, you kind of look like you're wearing a Guy Fawkes mask.
I don't know.
Remember the 5th of November.
Remember.
Oh, what?
Oh. The only other problem, Gary, is that now tickets are like $900 and they sell out within about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The last time I went, you could still go down the street to a record store, buy a ticket 2 weeks before the event, and it was like $250.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Who came up with the who came up with the idea in the first place? Like, let's go create an alternate universe.
Larry Harvey and John Law. The 1986 Baker Beach, San Francisco. They had a small gathering and they burnt a little wicker guy about 2 feet tall at the height of the party. And the guy got the prototype for the event from that because he saw how excited people were and gathered around something when he lit it on fire. And he thought, well, what could I do here around art and culture and freedom of expression? And then into the 90s, it became a festival. It outgrew San Francisco in '89. They brought it to the Nevada desert. They used to build huge pneumatic and hydraulic powered robots out there that shot fire, and they had guns and AK-47s and dogs, and it was kind of like a lawless wasteland for a long time. And then '97, they got more organization around it, and it became an incorporated entity, and it threw its first official big party. And then '99, they started doing themes every year to organize the general cohesivity of the event. And it has a very interesting history, actually.
How many people have died at Burning Man? Do you know?
For a number of years, nobody. In the last few years, about 1 or 2 a year.
Okay. Because that's a pretty decent metric, I think, by which to judge if a thing needs to have control come in or not.
Well, it's a weird argument, or a weird thing to look at, even, because in the city that you live in today, probably at least 10, 15 people will die. And the population is less than Burning Man. So it's like, how do you evaluate that within an entire week? one person dies, and there's all kinds of additional risks that aren't usually here: dehydration, weird drugs that people don't know that they're taking by accident from a weird dude, or whatever. But getting crushed by an art car that didn't see you because you wandered off into the desert without blinking lights at night, and the guy driving the 40-foot RV was all fucked up and ran you over. There's a lot of weird things that could happen to you out there. Like, I had a friend fall off of a 40-foot high seesaw.
What?
Yeah, like, we were on this thing and she fell off, and I was just like, oh shit. Oh, and like, it went all the way down, and like, she fell off from about 10 feet, and she just rolled, and I was like, Mandy, are you okay?
So she was okay.
Like, yeah, I'm fine.
Wow.
Yeah, but the thing was 40 feet high. I mean, it could have been bad had she fallen off at the top.
Exactly. Wow. Well, at the same time, like, I don't know. I think we've overblown the whole, like, gotta protect all the humans and don't let anybody die. Like, that whole thing is a sort of a silly. It's just silly, like, as just a thing. Like, we should keep all the humans alive for as long as possible. Like, even as just a thought, it's kind of silly. Like, why should we do that? If you see things dying in nature, why shouldn't humans die? Like, what's the push for, in a very unnatural way, like, prolonging old people's lives so they can, like, vegetate in rest homes? Like, just that thought is ridiculous.
They want to make the money off of harvesting the organs at the mortuary before they plug them up with bags of silicone and put them in the coffin and do the presentation and then bury them. Just like the ancient Egyptians pulled all the body parts out and sucked them in jars. I'm pretty sure that the mortuaries pull out all the body parts that are valuable and then sell them off.
You think every mortuary is just a black market for body parts?
Probably for organs, probably.
Oh my god.
Because, I mean, there's a few things you could get away with that nobody would notice, like...
Well, who goes in, like, is there an oversight committee for mortuaries to make sure those things don't happen, or at least pretend that you're making sure those things don't happen?
No, this is really interesting. I actually have a friend that's a mortician. I could ask her if we have some focused questions, because, like, she's a normal person and I don't want to scare her. But
yeah, ask her if there's oversight. You know, like, OSHA goes into buildings and inspects the sanitary conditions, right? Ask if there is a official, group that goes inside of mortuaries and examines and makes sure his bodies are not being abused or stolen or sold organs off of, etc. That would be very interesting to know.
The organs would not be of any use on the black market, would they, at that stage? If the bodies reach the mortuary?
Well, not for implantation into live humans, but, I mean, like, for cannibals or the Chinese or, anybody that would be interested in, say, pulverizing an organ and grinding it up into a powder and selling it as an erectile dysfunction thing, or people do weird, stupid things.
Huh.
I know, it's troubling. But just for example, there's like a rhinoceros horn that the Chinese prize, and they've nearly hunted this thing into extinction because it's a folk cure for not having a boner. The horn of the rhinoceros ground up and drank as a tea. I know, it sounds ridiculous.
Is there any...
Yes, it's a real
I mean,
thing.
is there any, like, logic behind it, or studies, or are there at least people saying, yes, I took this and and I feel like I have a boner now?
What's a rhinoceros look like?
You're thinking of the deer.
A boner.
It's a deer or stag.
Not the deer antler.
No.
But they do that too. And
you're talking about a rhinoceros
like
horn?
It's phallic. It looks like a dick. Yeah. That's the only logic to it.
It does not look like a penis.
To somebody that hasn't had a hard penis in a while, it probably did.
Oh dear.
At some point in history, human history.
That's what people have always been infatuated with, is making giant phallic objects. That's what all of our buildings are about. All of the skyscrapers are just giant penises, right?
It's interesting that you say that, because I've spent some time playing around with the whole Tartarian thing, just to see what it was, because it was interesting. So, lots of nights watching weird videos and going, oh, that's ridiculous. Next, they were like, yes, these buildings are power transmitters. And there might be something to that. They were saying, like, they have weird arrays on top of them that, like, the San Francisco Bay would be like a ground, and then the Bay Bridge would be like the anode, and then the buildings would be cathodes. Then it would transmit power to the city, and then they would recollect. It was weird. I thought about it for a second, and then the city of San Francisco doesn't have more than 2 visible power stations, but yet 20 million people live there. So where's the electricity coming from?
I mean, modern cities look like circuit boards. There is always the possibility that the Earth is just living inside of a circuit board, and some giant is trying to power his Macintosh, or I don't know. It depends on how much you're into the Rick and Morty idea of, like, there's universes inside of each little molecule, and there's little people running around there. And isn't there? I don't know.
They said that's I don't watch TV, but what's interesting about that is one of the articles I wrote was about what's below the subatomic level, how there's a whole universe inside of that, but through the needle, so to speak.
It's a very interesting topic.
It is. If that's a popular theme now, I didn't know that when I wrote that.
It is in Rick and Morty. Like, they go into they miniaturize themselves. They go into his battery that powers his spaceship, and then in there they find a guy that, in that little world in there, he's doing the same thing. So they incept down like 7 levels and find inside of each battery is a civilization that is, their whole civilization is powering the battery that's they're inside of, and so on. But we're running out of time. We are running out of time. So I think we gotta say goodbyes now, and it was good to see you again, Rin.
You too, you guys too.
And Omar,
likewise.
Thanks for joining. If you think of any crazy conversation topics for next week, then just message me.
Okie dokie.
And yeah, if you know new people to bring in, Omar, then send them over. It's always fun to see the thing grow.
For sure. Yeah, I was thinking my friend Teresa would actually get a lot out of this. You'd probably see her on my Facebook.
I think I have.
Teresa Stansfield.
I have, yeah. We'll keep going. We'll keep growing the thing, and I'll talk to you guys, probably throughout the week. So.
Okay. Cheers.
All right. Peace.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Ren.
Bye.
Okay, Leto. I guess this is 7A. Yes. Okay. Hold on just one second window.